Well, hello there guys, my name's Mikey and welcome to Mega Minis. Today we're going to be taking a look at Warhammer 40k Imperium Magazine, and it looks like all of the freebies and things which are included are designed to bolster up your collection from the perspective of a beginner. So let's dive in. So firstly, with this issue of Imperium Magazine, I just wanted to point out that you come with a load of extra bits. We've got some initial playing things such as a ruler, some dice, some more characters on these sprues which look like some awesome Space Marine and Necron characters we're going to dive into in a moment. But also this set comes with a promotional poster, a task force promotional imagery thing which looks like it's surrounding a battle story, and also a slightly thicker bit of card which ends up being a playing surface or playing board for a very small battle surrounding these two miniatures. But one of the main things I wanted to point out is that we just took a look at the Getting Started with Warhammer 40k book, and it suggests some of the first things we need are going to be some hobby tools. This set from Imperium Magazine also includes everything on that short list. We've got ourselves some Citadel glue, some clippers to actually cut the miniatures out the sprues, and a very simplified version of a scraper to remove the excess mold lines. So it's already building up from scratch for things you're going to need to get started with your modeling. So the magazine itself is relatively thin, not too much information to have to process each time around, and as you can see with issue 1 of Imperium Magazine, it's got the same imagery that we had in our Getting Started, as well as some really high detailed paint job versions of the miniatures that we've got off the front. Looks like a professional work, introducing the Space Marines, discover the deadly Necrons, and learn to play your first game. Which is great because this magazine really is designed for someone like me who has no idea what's going on, and it's just going to slowly build up our understanding of the Warhammer world. In this issue, if you are new to Warhammer 40,000, then this magazine is for you. Thank you. If you're going to get subscribed to a magazine like this, it's about $4.99 as I'd said, and you get issues 1 and 2 together with loads of extra bonus stuff. This might actually cover a lot of what we've already learnt. Now, in this lovely page, it looks like it helps you get to grips much more directly with these figures and build up your understanding. We've got the close-up of the paintwork here, loads of highlights of the character, and a little bit about our Primaris Lieutenant Veteran Space Marine Officer. Space Marine Lieutenants are key members to each chapter's command structure, and each lieutenant is an expert tactician and strategist. So this is really cool, builds up the character, gives you some quotes to kind of build up the world and lore that they're set in, and it also gives you this character sheet over here. Now, I'm recently taking a look at Dungeons and Dragons, also as a complete beginner, so I like the idea that there's a bit of a permanent, ongoing narrative campaign nature to these characters. So it gives you an example of names, achievements that you can do with their gear, maybe some awesome things that happen in battle. It doesn't look like there's any ongoing damage from having had battle or any stats that affect that, so it's not quite like the old way that I remember Necromunda. But it does come with some suggested names like Vero Cassian, Gaitus Emretian, and Marco Sextus, as well as some different titles: Defender of Mortax, Blade of Espenor, Knight of the Axe. So very much with Space Marines, I'm really getting the feeling so far that their visuals, their ranking, their command structure is very Roman in terms of their legions and battle formations, especially their names. But a lot of the titles that they seem to give themselves in battle, and a lot of the vibe I'm getting, is a lot more evocative of the old Crusades, if anything. We've got these imperial religious knights kind of bringing fire and their own truth across the galaxy. So it's kind of an amalgamation of mankind's history into the best of the best war-based religious armies, which is very interesting to see. Then over here we've got our other figurine, our Royal Warden Noble Commander. Royal Wardens are Necron nobles who act as battlefield commanders. Though they are utterly loyal to their superiors, they have independent thought and are capable of adjusting the strategy of their warriors to ensure victory. So both of these guys seem to be like sub-lieutenants, definitely models which have got a lot more interesting design. These guys, again, really rich with this iron futuristic Egypt tech kind of vibe, but still with this real kind of relentless kind of horror look to them, if anything. Necron nobility. Each Necron dynasty is ruled over by a single high-ranking noble, and they are not beyond plotting against their superiors, but the lower-ranking nobles are kept loyal by command protocols deep in their mechanical brains. So this is fascinating, but also kind of builds up the world of Necrons as well, being both kind of semi-alive but structured with enforced servitude, kind of indentured to their own species through mechanical coding. And then we've got a whole lot of stuff here. We've got Ekenophet, Traxis, Rukhet, Zopkan, very Egyptian kind of names. The Doom of Flesh, the Destroyer of Vermin, the Gleeful Eradicator. Lovely, good for them. And then over here, we're starting to dive away from the miniatures and more back into the lore. And I'm really getting the feeling here that when you kind of get into Warhammer, there doesn't seem to be one particular source of pure information for everything. I'm kind of getting the feeling that you build up your knowledge of the world of 40k through just little bits here and there, hearsay from some people, a story you read here, some information on the back of a box there. But Space Marines. The Adapters Astartes are known by most as the Space Marines, one of mankind's most powerful fighting forces. They have defended the Imperium with courage and honor for thousands of years, inflicting terrible defeats upon humanity's many foes. And this is really cool because there's a juxtaposition here where they're talking about Space Marines as being the ultimate gladiators, the shining knights across the stars of humanity. But when you look at this artwork, it's really grim. This Space Marine here is lit by kind of the green flame of this energy weapon. He looks like death itself, a kind of spectre on the battlefield. Even humanity's brightest and loveliest is really, really grim. And then a bit more. The masters of mankind, including the Emperor, who is the founder and figurehead of the Imperium. He created the Space Marines for the purpose of conquering the galaxy and defending humanity's territories. He is now little more than a decaying corpse. What little remains of his mind and body is kept alive by ancient and arcane machinery. Mankind's shining star is a pseudo-corpse, and it kind of looks like the Optimus Prime from the old Transformers movies, where he's brought back from the dead by the Quintessons, and then he's forced onto a suicide mission where he's getting blown apart in a ship. It's a really striking, miserable visual. And a bit more about some other characters like Robert Gilliman. He's one of the Emperor's Primarchs, a superhuman created to lead his armies, and as the last Primarch known in the Imperium, he is the Lord Commander. So are all the Primarchs dead, or gone, or lost? I was under the impression that each of these different Space Marine chapters had their own Primarch, and only some of them were dead. And then as well, some more lore about the Necrons. So over here, we've got this awesome picture of this Necron, where we've got all of this relentless marching machine feeling to all of the visuals for these dangerous energy weapons, much like the Shrikes from his Mortal Engine and the T-1000s from the Terminator franchises. But if you look into all of this design, it's still decaying and falling apart like pictures of mummies and skeletons. So there's a decaying, living element to this relentless metal design, and the way those kind of two visual things come together work really nicely with their design. For 60 million years the Necrons have slumbered. As they have lain dormant, the stars have moved throughout the heavens, and countless empires have risen and fallen to ruin. Now the Necron race stirs from its long sleep, intent on reclaiming the galaxy and eradicating all who stand before them. There used to be a race called the Necron Tier, but they bargained with ancient star gods after a losing battle and got granted robotic immortality in exchange for their souls. Which doesn't sound like a particularly good deal. And then we've got the Silent Kings, and I just love how nice and evocative this artwork is. Rows and rows of floating tombs and sarcophaguses. Looks like the last Silent King, Svarkek, ordered the Necrons to retreat into their stasis crypts, where they would slumber until the time was right to rise up. Maybe even before humans are on a scene, deep in the cores of planets and other locations in space, there has been this sleeping enemy which is only now starting to awaken and threaten us. And anyway, then we go into the other parts of the magazine, building and popping your miniatures together. Be very careful, they are very delicate, and then a bit more on painting. And we're going to go into detail about painting these miniatures after we have a look at the beginner's paint set and work through those in a future video. And then down here we've got Merry and Pippin, our two characters who are doing the wargaming stuff. Now again, it's going to be very nice to have a play of these because it's doing that thing of giving you a very easy and simplified battle that you can get into to kind of understand the game. You've got your two characters here, all the bits you need with this little map and a rough narrative mission briefing where the Space Marines have come down to a planet. Underneath somewhere the Necrons might be damaged, but one of them, this Royal Warden, has woken from his slumber. His job is to go around on the board and kind of activate these things on a roll of 5+ to then ideally activate the rest of the Necron army, therefore winning this particular exchange, this single Space Marine lieutenant has come down and it's his job to stop him. It tells you a little bit about character stats and data sheets, how that works when it comes to rolling dice to hit and wound your opponents based on toughness and so on, and a little bit about how this battle's going to go. You've got moving phases, shooting phases, saving, allocating wounds, and keep going round between the two characters so that you're going to get a feel for what it's actually like to play the game. And then obviously you can build up from there with a few more characters and some larger armies. And then at the end, it just kind of encourages you to subscribe to the magazine. So we're going to take a look at issue 2 very shortly. And then on the back, it really just lets you know that you're going to be expecting more Space Marines and Necrons in particular, which is pretty cool because it looks like all of the beginner's book stuff, the beginner's paint sets, and the beginner's how to play box sets are really feeding into these two armies. So that all of the extras that you're starting to get are just going to make these armies more varied and more interesting, and picking a completely different race is going to be up to you as you get into the hobby and start collecting. So let's just take one look at those extras. We've got here, with the first fold out of a magazine, this is a repeat of that photograph that we've seen in the Getting Started book of this beautiful, massively displayed Necron versus Space Marine army, just more really evocative stuff. On the back of this little fold out, it's got more about that little mini narrative they just set up. This, as mentioned, is the slightly thicker card fold out map that you can actually just use as your first small gaming board for the two of them to have that fight. And then here as well, we've got this free poster which was inside. This is gonna open up quite a bit, so let's see what's going on. Oh, okay. Okay, so that is pretty awesome. On the back of this as well, it looks like it gives you an idea of all the different free things that you can expect from Imperium Magazine if you commit to the subscription, as well as all these other bits as well. And so the question overall is going to be, is it actually worth grabbing Imperium Magazine? Interestingly, I would say yes, a lot, for two reasons. Definitely grab the first two issues. Even if you stop there, you're going to get so many interesting freebies and everything you need to learn to actually play your first game with the two models which are included. It means that I'd actually recommend it more than the Getting Started book. Just from the Imperium Magazine, you're already going to be getting much more of a real-time experience of the hobby. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Like and subscribe, and let me know what's going on with any of your own Warhammer suggestions. We will continue taking a look through the Imperium magazines as they pop through the door, and of course let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll see you next time. Take care.